Trojan fans, welcome to another edition of the Peristyle Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Abraham. They call me the boss man. We got running the show, automatic India Otto in the director's chair and coming in right under the wire, just so close to being on time. RJ Abeytia.
So close to being on time. Yeah, no, that was
But
that
he's
was
the
rough.
only one wearing green
Yeah,
here
at
on
least
this St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, he's on theme.
Well, and I was kind of wondering, how much do we lean in on the Irish thing? Because, USC's not, they've got kind of a grudge with
Right.
the Fighting Irish.
do,
You don't want to
yeah.
go too far into that, but I think plenty of Irish heritage standouts in Trojan lore. I'm sure Ryan has them encyclopedically named off the top of his head.
Not so much, but that's okay. If you have any, we're live on YouTube, by the way, and Facebook. So if there's any sort of Irish USC connections you want to bring up, India Otto, I figured she was going to come in. We got our ginger here being all Irish and everything, and nope, she's dressed in black. I got a volleyball game afterwards. I didn't really have any green shirts I can work out in. So it's weird. We're doing this a weird time. It's March Madness is starting, and I'm going to Vegas tomorrow. So we're doing this a day early. So I appreciate you guys coming in. Even RJ being 20 minutes late. That's fine. One of the first comments we got from Jeff was Connor would never do that. So I don't know.
I'll pull it up right now.
Wear green.
No, he would. Yeah. Tell him Connor wouldn't have done that.
Well,
That's okay.
Okay, but you kind of gave me the alibi there. In the context of doing it a day early, the 20 minutes is still debited off, I feel like, the 24 hours of grace, maybe.
Right.
So really it's automatic
You
that
did
I owe India the drink, really, or something, the time. But I don't know. Killian O'Connor.
Ooh.
There's my first,
I
that's
like
the first
it.
shot, right?
I like that.
All
Clay
right.
Matthews, does he have Irish heritage?
I'm not sure.
Could be.
They might have some. I'm not.
That's
yeah.
the first person that popped
I mean,
into
John
my
McKay?
mind.
Give me something.
To be fair,
Yeah,
RJ
yeah.
did want to do the show at 3:30. I got another show at 5. We moved to 4:30. So no, we're gonna squeeze this in an hour. So maybe we shouldn't ramble on too much now early on about this.
All right.
But we hope
we're going tempo here.
Hopefully you enjoy yourselves. It's a happy St. Patrick's Day for all of you, or whenever you're listening or watching this. Like I said, we're on YouTube and Facebook live. Last week we did it live, but it was a little weird. We got the license for Wirecast is working everything again. So we're back there on that. If you have questions or comments, podcast at uscfootball.com. You can also call or text us at 424-254-9141. And if you're on Apple or Spotify, you can leave us a 5-star rating. We appreciate that. It's always fun to hear from you. And we did get a new, we got a new 5-star rating from La Palma.
Yeah, let's go.
Thank you.
The 2 1-stars are the best. Most informative podcast, very entertaining. So he's talking about our 2-star recruiting podcast, which
There you go.
we'll have
Same
some news
umbrella.
coming up with soon. I know Chris Trevino's moved on, but there could be some funny things happening. So we'll see. Just stay tuned for that. We'll keep you posted on what's going on. Make sure you stick on the Peristyle Podcast channel. However you get your podcast, we appreciate that very much. We also appreciate Trader Joe's because they've been awesome. I told you I would get those steak tips, but there's some different, just marinated different meats. And this was, I think it was a Kalbi beef one. So it was like a Korean beef and you could cook it up real quick. You can do it on the grill. And they have these, some cool sandwich bread that you kind of put in there. And I just made a little kind of steak sandwich today earlier for lunch. So that was good, from Trader Joe's. But I did go back. So I told you guys last week, it is it's St. Patrick's Day. Smittix. So they have the little, at least the one in Hermosa Beach, they have the display. So they have some Irish beers and things. So there's Harp and Smittix, and they have some other Irish things. I actually drink I'm a tea guy. I'm not a coffee person, but I usually I'll buy they had Irish breakfast tea. I usually drink a lot of English breakfast tea, but they had these Irish breakfast tea bags. I bought them. They have a big display of that too. So I was like, I got some of those already. But the Smittix, if you like red ales, that's my favorite one. I think it's the most popular one in the world. When I went to Ireland 6 years ago, I had it on tap. I'm like, this is awesome. So anytime you go to an Irish bar, that's the one I try to get. Smittix. They got it at Trader Joe's now. $8 for a 4-pack. So I like it.
I feel like if I got to go one Trader Joe's, I don't think it's Irish based, unfortunately, but I will say the carb-friendly whole wheat tortillas.
Oh.
Outstanding.
Carb friendly.
They taste good. Yeah, it's like a low carb. It says it. I mean, it says it on the label, so who am I to question? I don't know how much benefit I'm actually getting off a regular, but they're good. And also the sugar-free mints, MYNTZ.
Mint. Oh, okay.
Recommend.
Okay.
Sugar-free, do the job. So there you go. That's my Trader Joe's endorses.
Nice. I went to Trader Joe's yesterday and I got purple sweet potatoes. Or no, Japanese sweet potatoes and then regular sweet potatoes. I had them with my dinner last night. They were delicious.
Were they purple, the Japanese ones?
Yeah, they're purple on the inside. Very good. They're like sweeter.
Ube? Is that ube?
I think they're two different things,
Ube's different?
actually. Yeah,
Okay.
ube and like Japanese sweet potato, I believe, are two different things. But Japanese sweet potato, I recommend. They're like a little bit on the sweeter side. Delicious.
Sweeter side of sweet potato.
Did you just mash them? Did you just
No,
bake them?
I just put them in the oven, baked it for like an hour. It's like hot, ready to go. Slice it with a knife, put a little butter, indulge.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, if you can't tell, everybody, again, thanks for joining us, however you're listening or watching. It's spring break. Yeah, we're all on spring break. I kind of came in here a little, there's like all this stuff going on. Got another show to do. Got volleyball stuff later. RJ, obviously, not exactly on time. India's here. Didn't realize it was St. Patrick's Day until 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
We're on spring break. We're just on spring break time. But USC is on spring break. And if we went over how the format was going to go for USC spring football, it was kind of 2 intense weeks with back-to-back practices going Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday, Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday again, and then on Friday, and then they took a break. So everyone got to scatter. So I feel my brain's a little scattered. Like we're going on break with them, even though we're not, spring breakers right now. But so USC got 7 of the 15 practices out of the way. They get this time off, and then they'll come back the following, not today, but a week from today, following Tuesday, and get back to practice again and doing the double day, 2 in a row and things like that. So it's, I kind of like just the format when it came out. It's different, and it's the first time I can remember USC changing the format, RJ, but I sort of like the feel of it. It seems like it's the intensity's there, and even though you're taking a break, get back into the swing of things and finish strong. You get 2 weeks of intense practice, a break, and then 2 more weeks of it.
Yeah, I think like there's 3 kind of things to really like about it. I think Lincoln Riley talked about one of them. First of all, just big picture, moving it up, right, and having it this early creates a more legitimate summer conditioning program for them. And
Yeah.
we didn't really talk about that. So as opposed to like you spilling it into April, some people may be finishing it in May, suddenly then kind of your summer session's a little shorter, right? And so he wanted to have a longer summer conditioning so that they could really go to work. Usually the winter conditioning is when a lot of the gains have to happen, a lot of the bulk of what Trumaine Carroll is going to do with the team. But with a longer summer session, you have some time to actually, if guys need more, they need less, they need a little more of this, you have more time to work with there. The other part I like is splitting it, because you can look at your first 2 weeks of film and be honest about what you thought you were going to get to and what you didn't get to and what's going well and what's not. And then you can inform those back 2 weeks based on that, right? As opposed to rushing it out for 4 straight weeks and you find out you're not really where you want to be. I think it's a good break that way, and I think it's good to split it up, especially because when they're going pretty hard. They're in pads. They had the first couple of days when they couldn't do it, but when you're doing it, they're doing it every day. And also, important to remember, there's 15 practices allowed, but it's not like USC's players are just off on the other 3 days that are not scheduled practices,
There's
right?
meetings and stuff.
Yeah, there's so much for them to be doing anyway. So really, it's not like, oh my gosh, they practice 7 times over 2 weeks and now they need a break kind of a thing. They're in that building till pretty late on a daily and nightly basis. So it's like 2 weeks off, come back and do 2 weeks, and then really kind of look at where you are.
Yeah, and I do. That's a good point. I feel like it is allowing this team to sort of utilize all of this off-season time a little bit better. And Gary Patterson even talked about this, where if you do have freshmen coming in early and they're here in December or January or whatever coming through, they have a lot of opportunities. And by the time you get to August, it doesn't feel like they're freshmen anymore. And you get all these extra periods with them. And starting early it does allow a lot more, those lifting periods and conditioning things and to work out over the summer. And you can build on things that were, implemented, especially on the defensive side, early on in spring. And it gives you a lot more time to sort of go over it with it. And when you do those player run practices, it's a little different than like when Danton Lynn came in and maybe you had Kamari Ramsey sort of helping out. Some of the players like, hey, this is what we want you to do. It's, there's not really any like TCU guys coming over from 4 years ago. So it's going to be more on the veteran player side to like, here's what we learned. And they're all sort of in the same boat together. But it should give them more of an opportunity to kind of digest everything that was happening in the spring and come out of the other side of all those summer workouts into fall camp and, be ready or more ready for the 2026 season.
Yeah, and, they do have a week 0 game. So if I'm not mistaken, I think that San Jose State is week 0. So look, everything's getting pushed up a little bit. And so this just makes it a lot easier to go in and have that time and utilize it and not be rushed when you get to training camp and kind of plan all that out the way you want it. So to me, I don't really see any drawbacks. I think it was good that they did it. And then again, as Lincoln Riley said, the prime motivator was just the availability of the players. The fact that they had this many guys ready to go coming out of the winter conditioning, it was just kind of like, well, why are we waiting around? Why don't we just start? Let's get the pads on. Let's start playing. So, yeah, I think, we'll talk about this, I'm sure, because I think we do need to talk about it because certainly we need to do a hat tip towards the doubters, right? We've had a lot of good things to say about what USC football got done in the first 2 weeks and the things that we've been able to see. But, it's like, Lucy, here's India's old man cultural reference. Do we know Peanuts?
Yeah.
Charlie Brown?
On. I'm the biggest Snoopy Charlie Brown fanatic there is.
Brilliant.
Linus, Sally, I can name them all.
So that the most famous, and it's actually like you can look at your phone right now and look it up on image, like you're going to send someone a meme of something, is Lucy holding the football.
Yeah.
Right?
Takes it away
eternally
every time.
Holds it. Eternally convinces Charlie Brown that she will hold it.
He never learns.
And he never learns, and she takes it every time. And I think there's a little bit of vibe from Trojan fans.
You blockhead.
I think there's a little bit of that from the Peristyle where it's kind of like, we hear about this every spring. We hear how great they are every spring, and right? And like, why is it different? And I think we definitely need to talk a little bit about like, okay, what have we not seen? Also, what are the things that maybe you should be skeptical about? But also, what are the things that do feel different this spring?
Yeah, you don't want to pull that football away from all the USC fans. Like,
they've been there before.
I think even the optimism we felt after the 2024 offseason, fans were like, and the over/under for that, if you remember, the win total was 7.5, I think, or maybe it was 6.5. I forget what was it, 6.5? I don't know, 7. It wasn't high, and we were all like, okay, we feel like that's the over is the way to go, and they end up winning 9 games. They did win some of those games that they would have lost, like on the road the year before. They just didn't get over the hump and beat the best teams. And last year was a good opportunity. If you not a pretty good Illinois team, not a great Illinois team, you had an opportunity to win 10. Go 10-2. So yeah, I feel like that's one of those situations that show us. And well, last year we felt there was some optimism. The team did look better. Everything looked better. Like at least the offense got a lot better. The defense kind of treaded water. Now you got to go back to this year is not about if you go 9-3 again. It's like, okay, is that really better? It probably is. Just looking at the schedule on paper, it's probably 9-3. But I think the fans this needs to be like a 10. Like you got to win one of the big 3: the Ohio State, Oregon, or Indiana on the road. And if you can do that, I think then people would feel like, okay, progress is made. But just from what we're seeing in the spring and what we've seen from Gary Patterson and stuff, we feel like there's some reason to be optimistic, but it's going to come down to, there's a lot more that has to be done between now and then. It's not just what we're seeing in the spring. This has got to work on game day. This has got to work through fall camp. And there's got to be a way to figure out like, hey, you got a lead against Oregon in the third quarter. This is where we turn it on, not roll over and they start playing like a national championship contender and you sort of, go back to where you were. So those steps need to be taken, and we can't tell that from what we've seen so far in the spring. But if you weren't seeing the reason for optimism, then you'd be like, all right, I'm not as confident that they can take those steps and go 10-2 and shock some people. You see that optimism, you're like, all right, I feel like they're capable of doing that. Doing it or not, that's a whole different story. But I think the capability is there just from what we've seen.
Yeah, and I think like if you want to have the cynic hat on and you want to have the prove it to me, show me, Missouri State, kind of attitude, there's a couple things that we can say directly. Number one, there's no ambiguity about the criteria this year. This is, you are in the college football playoff or you're not in the college football playoff. There's not this kind of like, okay, let's look into those 9 wins and what growth did we see within that context, right? This is a pass-fail exam for Lincoln Riley. Yeah. I think that's
there can be real growth, but
sure,
but that's not enough at this point.
Yeah, we're not going to have to get really deep into the vibe from this season. Like we're not going to have to think about was this a good season for them or not. This is going to be, did they do it or did they not do it? And then if you look below that, I think what we're getting this spring is actually USC giving us the criteria by which we judge them, right? There's been very specific intent between what they said was important, what they're working on in the field, and what's going to matter in the fall, right? Like Paul Gonzalez said, we want to look at red zone defense and we want to look at takeaways, right? So there's 2 things right there where we hear him say it. We have watched, we've written about this in the Ghost Notes and stuff like that. We've talked about it. A lot of the drills that we see defensive backs doing are ball drills. They're focused on getting the ball. So there's a connection between what they said and what they're working on this spring, and the final exam will be the fall. But there is a through line there. It's not like it's all coming out of nowhere, right? And then Zach Hansen said it very clearly. We want to graduate. We want to grow from being a team that covers up blocks to a team that dominates, to a team that flattens people, runs people over, right? So now you're talking specifically about pancakes. You're talking about all those 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 situations where it's not some clever Lincoln Riley trickeration that they use to solve the problem. It's no, we're running it between the tackles. We're running it over you. Whether you know it or not, we're going to do it. If we see that, then there's the growth, right? And then the other thing, the final thing would be just depth. They've been touting it. We've put our eyes on it on the field. And if it is for real, it will show up in the fall. It won't be something where it takes expert analysts to tell people that it worked, right? USC should function, And the one thing I will say is they've been missing people in the spring. And if there were other springs where the starting left tackle, 2 of your possible starting corners, certainly 2 potential secondary starters were gone, the center's gone, the right tackle's gone, right? The leading receiver is not on the board. It'd be like, what are you even hoping to accomplish this spring? Because this isn't going to work. But that's not what it's looked and felt like this spring.
For sure. And it's been, I think, it was a whirlwind for us just because things were happening fast, the practices and even the open portions we got to see, I felt were a little bit longer. And if you've checked out, we put a whole bunch of photos and videos up. India's done a great job putting some vertical videos up on our YouTube channel here. You can see that, or on Instagram or on TikTok. So we should see more of that stuff we've been putting up there. But it's been an opportunity to watch a little bit more, talking to players just about every practice and Lincoln Riley several times. But on Friday, we got a really unique perspective, and we got to watch the entire practice. Unfortunately, we can't comment on like stuff that was seen. And to be honest, it wasn't like if there was a practice you could pick to like watch stuff, that probably wouldn't have been it. It wasn't really like one of these. It wasn't a fully padded practice, so there weren't going to be a lot of competitive periods and stuff. And but just to sort of get a general feel for like, okay, what are they doing? Through these practices, we'll see that if they open up another one and it's like with full pads and you can see some different drills maybe that we wouldn't be able to like comment on. But if you feel like, oh, look, I do feel like Gary Patterson has his fingerprints on some of the structure of practice. And I mentioned this last time I asked Lincoln Riley about that. And he had said, yes, like there's, maybe not to the untrained eye. Again, this wasn't a shot at anybody, but yes, he some of the structural stuff had changed. It would be good to be able to just see for our own eyes, like, oh, that's a period I don't remember, or things like that. But it was cool to be able to at least watch like a whole practice out there. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't the most compelling one, but we got to watch it. India was there. You got to check it out.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really hot, but
it was a hot, yeah.
Well, again, in all black too. It's
I know
even
it's kind of my signature trademark. Although I really truly didn't know it was St. Patrick's Day today. I was telling Ryan before we started that I saw a bunch of people out on the 14th on Saturday, like celebrating St. Patty's Day. So I just assumed that like St. Patrick's Day was on the 14th for some reason, and then right before we started this, I looked at the date and I was like, oh, it's St. Patrick's Day today. Not prepared.
Yeah, it's always weird when it's like a Tuesday situation.
Yeah.
Do you celebrate it the Saturday before? Do you hold on to the following Saturday?
I guess most of my friends celebrated before.
I think there are some who just say, yes, let's just go Saturday to Saturday, and we'll do it that way. But
fair enough.
As far as the practices go, and yes, we can't give details away, and we're definitely happy that we got to watch that full session. But also, I think we can say like, the wheels didn't come off the tracks the second we started observing that last hour of practice. It's not like they blew our minds in the observing periods and then just didn't even know what the football was, or were putting on their helmets with the face mask on back. It's like the wheels don't fall off. It's not like they suddenly looked like a totally beatable team that couldn't, right? So, I don't think we're stepping too far out by saying that. I think. Yeah. But I think that is the divide. We're certainly happy to watch them play, and we're certainly going to look into and see what we can see. If the spring goes by and we literally haven't seen them play a down of tackle football, then you do have to have that asterisk. You do have to note that. I would in that scenario, let's just assume that happens because there's no spring game scheduled. Right now, it's not scheduled to see. We're not scheduled to see any of that. If that happens, I would still tend to bet on the fact that progress has been made and that this is a better version of the team than last year. But again, I think for the doubters, for the cynics, you can just sit there and wait and see. It's very clear what they have to hit, what they have to do to make this a success.
Yeah, and I mentioned this, and I shouldn't have even said anything, but the chat, they're kind of getting on Riley for the untrained eye thing. Look, this was not said. The way he said that was not in the context of you idiot fans don't know anything. He was just basically saying, like, if you just watch the full practice, you might not notice that things were different, but there are different things going on due to Gary Patterson's influence. Probably shouldn't have used those words since the way they were used prior, but it wasn't a shot at anybody, or it wasn't, just
it's a buzzword.
You could take shots at Riley for a lot of things. I would not, I would spare him on this one.
But he was not spared.
No,
he's and he wasn't spared on the Peristyle either. Like it's one of those too soon, but I think it's a too soon thing. I think it's just you haven't earned that equity to joke with us yet.
Oh yeah,
we took it that way. I honestly think he was actually trying to kind of make amends or make a joke about it. Like he was trying to circle back as like, yeah, I get it. That wasn't a thing I should have said, or the way I phrased it. And here's me hitting that gong again, but in good spirit, in good jest. I don't think USC fans took it that way, but say lovey, what are you going to do?
Yeah. One of the commenters talked about Blackie Chan, if you want to put it up. It's crazy that Gary Patterson is 66 and has more energy than me. He does. Like, that's one of the things we've seen out there. He does have a lot of energy. He'll engage with you, like, during the open periods. If he walks by the media, and he does, because, like, we're sort of between the two fields. And I don't know what they're calling, because Howard Jones Field is like the main field there. It used to be Brian Kennedy Field that was off to the side. Now that's where the Bloom Center is. They built a second 100-yard field. I don't know if they're calling it something different, if the whole thing is Howard Jones Field, or if
that's weird, especially because it's two different surfaces.
Yeah, so I'll ask about that because we refer to Howard Jones Field a lot. So I'll find out.
We'll call it Abraham Field.
We could do that
until they. Do you want the turf or do you want the grass? What do you want to be?
I like grass. I would do the grass.
Okay, so you're booting Howard Jones.
No, I know I can't.
You're basically like, yeah. Well, look.
I can't boot him.
Your tenure goes past Howard Jones's by now. Can we say that you have at least
30 years
in terms of longevity?
But I don't think I've had the same contributions like winning national championships and stuff, and like setting the program off for 100 years of a lot of success, but not all of it.
All right. But we're throwing you the turf field.
I'll do the turf.
You'll take the turf field
for now until they get the naming rights or something. But we're between the two. During the defensive stuff we can watch. And so behind us on Howard Jones is usually the safeties, and then right in front of us to the right are the linebackers, to the left are the cornerbacks, and then sort of across the field will be the defensive tackles and defensive ends. And Gary Patterson's bopping around between the two, but he'll go when he goes to the safeties, like he's basically walking through us, and he comes back and he walks through us, and he'll make comments. We've talked about it. It's just funny. Like he'll engage with you. I'll take pictures of him going by and he'll like smile or do something. He's got a lot of energy. And if anyone felt like, if you felt like, okay, the game's passed him by, I don't know if the game's passed him by. Watching from what I've seen, I would, and I had to bet on something, I would certainly not bet that the game has passed him by. Like, I'm not an expert like that, but I would say like just watching him do his thing, he's good at his job. I like people that are good at their jobs. Like whatever your job is, if you're gonna give me my McDonald's meal or whatever it is, if you're checking my luggage at TSA, which unfortunately for them they're not getting paid right now, but all that stuff going on. If you're good at your job, I think it's something that can be, recognized. And if I had to bet on if Gary Patterson's good at his job just from watching it, untrained eyes here, but I would say yes, he's good at his job.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, right? Is that the good thing is we don't have to guess because he's got a 21-year track record that suggests.
He's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, yes.
What I think we've picked up on is he's genuinely happy to be here. He's having fun out there on that football field. And the only reason at this stage in his career for him to be there is because he wanted to. He's got nothing to prove. He has nothing left that he's got to establish in terms of his name and his legacy of the game. When we see Gary Patterson out there, he seems to really love being at USC, coaching football, and doing what he's doing. And if that's not genuine, he's one of the best actors. He should be nominated because it seems pretty sincere to us. And I think it's more than just a rah-rah boost. I think like when you have someone in that position giving that out, it pushes everybody to kind of want to meet that. Especially if you're not 66 and this guy's running circles around you out on the field, like you need to step it up. And look, I don't remember, obviously you guys did more of the beat stuff the last couple of years, but I've never seen Lincoln Riley fielding punts and covering guys and running around on the field on drills and like doing all that stuff before. So, and I think that's a good influence, and I think it's raising the expectations. And the other thing is when you have a voice that's that positive, it sets you up to push through the tough stuff, right? Like there's going to be moments where this is hard, and it should be, because if they don't go through any hard moments in the offseason, they're not going to succeed in the hard moments in the regular season.
Yeah.
Right? But when you have a guy like that, and the presumption is you're coming from a place of joy, you're coming from a place of energy and belief, it's going to help you get through those kinds of things where we haven't seen them get through them in the past. So, I think that it's the energy we don't have to carry. We mention it all the time, but it has a value. And, I think as a former player, India, someone who's played at this level and competed at this level, even at this level, that kind of vibe matters.
Absolutely. To just touch on everything you said, I couldn't agree more. Energy is absolutely contagious, and you can feel it, and you can feel when it's genuine. And, just being at practices last year, there is a certain level of presence and engagement that Lincoln Riley is bringing to practices this year, and energy. And it's something as a player, like you can see right through when you're not bringing it or when it's fake. Like you can't fake it. And so again, I've touched on this before, but it makes your players want to put in that extra just like percent to just run through a brick wall for your coaches. And it really does make a difference when you're in a tight game, in December and things like that. And you can't fake it. It's contagious, and it's a really great thing to have in your program for sure. And you can definitely tell the difference, the energy that they're bringing this year.
And like when we were on Friday, Gary Patterson, so we were still on the field because we got to watch the whole practice, and Gary Patterson came to the sideline and met his wife, and there was another person with them, and like gives her a kiss, and they're walking together, and someone makes a comment about like, what are you doing for spring break? And do you remember he was like, I don't have spring break.
There is no spring break for him.
He was I forget what he said exactly, but it was something like, we're doing this and that, and he's moving. I think they were moving into their house or something, and then but like. He's taking, his wife's involved. He's like, they're here. They're all like to your point, like he seems all in. Like, hey, we're doing this. I decided this is what I wanted to do, and there's no half-assing about. Like, we're gonna do this. The whole family's involved. We're in. You also mentioned nominations. Congrats, a couple of Trojans won Oscars over the weekend, so that was good. Yeah.
Ryan Coogler.
Yeah. So is he the composer? No, he's the
director.
The director.
And then the composer Ludwig. They were roommates at USC, which is super cool.
That's
he's
funny.
done all of his projects with him. So
they've done
real day ones.
So really cool. Some stuff there, and then you'd mentioned you haven't seen Lincoln Riley. This the way he's been involved in some of the stuff, and one of my favorite movies is it's an older movie called Midnight Run. Did we mention this one before?
Yeah, we brought it up before. It's classic.
But like one of the lines, the gangster lines, when he's like, basically all of his goons are buffoons and they keep screwing up, and he's all these great lines.
I know where this is going.
He's like, you're gonna need to get more personally involved in your work.
Yes.
It's just like everyone's like, I'm gonna stab you through the heart with an effing pencil or thing. Like he said all this stuff. He had so many good lines. He's like, eat a sandwich, drink a glass of milk, do some effing thing. Like, but the one that's like, you need to get more personally involved in your work. Like, I just thought of that when you had said, which is good. Go see Midnight Run. Charles Grodin unfortunately passed away recently, but there was a really good buddy movie.
Well, we put it on India's list, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
She's a cinephile, but she hasn't knocked that one out yet.
Back when you could smoke on planes, like to ask Marty if he can smoking or non-smoking. He's like smoking at the desk. It's like, take a wild guess. Like someone.
I'm gonna sit on the line because I want her to see.
Okay.
Because we'll come back with the quotes once she's
I'll watch it before our next podcast. How about that?
Perfect.
I think when I was at school at USC, because I'm older than you, but like I think that was like a popular movie like in the early '90s or something. So I think it was early '90s.
It still plays. It's just really done. Yeah. It's just really well done. It's and again, we don't need to go off on this track too much, but it's a version of Robert De Niro that you almost never get to see in movies.
I love Robert De Niro.
And he's really good at it. Like that's the thing. It's not like he could have done this as many times as he wanted, but he's great in it. Grodin's great in it. But it's
get more personally involved in your work.
And it's getting personally involved. And look, at this stop, and at some of my previous other stops that I've had covering, there are retirement gigs.
Yeah.
There are coaches, and I'm not going to name names, but there are coaches who take that last job and just kind of coast it, for whatever reason, and it is what it is. And it's not like this is the only industry where that happens either, by the way, but there are coaches who do that. And so I think it was reasonable at the start to be on alert. This is not a coast situation for Gary Patterson. It's just very clear that he's actually, we talked about his record, but he's coaching as if nobody's ever seen him put together a defense. And look, this is a really interesting challenge, right? Because Lincoln Riley has established what he can do offensively, and he's established what he has not been able to do defensively. And so to be the coach that joins a Lincoln Riley team and gives it a defense that can help it win a championship, that is a pretty impressive feather in the cap. That is something that is like would go up on the plaque, even if the plaque's already been chiseled, right?
Yeah, he's accomplished a lot, but that would be another thing. Like
absolutely.
Not to go too much off on a tangent, but I would love to see Gary Patterson and Coach B, Beth Burns from the women's team, in a room together. Like they remind me of one another. Like Beth Burns has been around the game for the longest time, one of the most brilliant basketball minds, especially one of the most brilliant defensive minds. And she doesn't need to be doing this anymore, but she just loves it. Like she's up at 4 a.m. every day. She's up till 2 a.m. doing film and doing things. Like she just puts her all into it and loves just investing in USC program and kids, and again, somebody who doesn't need to be doing it, but just like gives it her absolute all. So I would, and also really, really funny. It's that old school funny that both of them share. So I would love to see. We need to get them. Shout out Coach B, one of my favorite people on this planet.
I think
we need to get him in a room.
You're pitching the Midnight Run sequel.
Yeah, we could do that.
Gary Patterson, Beth Burns. Midnight Run 2.
Let's do it.
I love it.
Save the Trojans.
Yes.
Well, like I said, we're live on YouTube, live on Facebook. It's our spring break, St. Patrick's Day edition. A little bit different time. If you're watching us on either platform and you want to put a comment or question in the chat, you can do that. We got a couple voicemails and an email to get to, and I think we can take a break and do that.
Yeah.
Wayne in the chat was saying no calls. So Wayne, this is the same thing every week. Like, I know it looks the same, but this is the Peristyle Podcast. So it's like our weekly podcast. We don't do calls, but I tell at the top of every show, I give you the number to leave a voicemail. Leave us a voicemail. We'll play it for you, or send us an email, or you can watch live and chat and put your question in there. When we do Tunnel Vision at night, and we're going to try to do some, I think when the last couple of weeks of spring football, that's when we take live calls. I know it's confusing. It looks exactly the same. We treat it a little different. I don't say hello Trojan fans at the beginning of Tunnel Vision. We'll let India do that or whatever. But
yeah.
So yeah, sorry we don't do live calls for this one, but we will for like a later show, and we'll do one. Shotgun will be in town, so we'll have him come in and do some stuff as well. But why don't we take a quick break, and we'll come back and answer your questions. Alrighty, we're back here on the Peristyle Podcast. What time? Yeah, we got like 15, 20 minutes to answer some questions. We got like a stacked show today. I'm heading out of town, going to Vegas tomorrow for a little March Madness and some golf and stuff. Should be a lot of fun. But we wanted to get the shows done for you. Spring Break edition, St. Patrick's Day edition. And Indy, I know we got a couple voicemails and emails. Yep. I don't know if you want to start with one of those.
Let's tee him off.
Hey, Ryan, after the cupcakes this season, I know I'm getting ahead of myself because we have to beat them. Our first-ranked opponent will be Oregon at the Coliseum. We have to beat Oregon because if you don't beat Oregon, you're not going to have the confidence to beat Ohio State and then have the confidence to go to Indiana and beat them. But if you beat Oregon, you put the country on notice. Will we have what it takes? We'll wait and see. Curtis from Moreno Valley.
He's my favorite voicemail.
Curtis. That stretch after the cupcakes, as you called them, with you got Washington and Oregon back-to-back at home, those Pacific Northwest schools. I think that's Washington is like a school that feels like it's on the up, it's coming up. I think last year I felt like Nebraska was one of those schools, and I had the game USC at Nebraska as like a really big deal. And Nebraska wasn't as good, I think, as we thought. Raiola got hurt and all that, so they sort of spiraled a little bit. They still gave Matt Rule an extension, so whatever was going on there. This year, I think that Washington game, I think with Jed Fish, they feel like they've made a lot of progress. Now, there's some weird stuff going on with Damon Williams, like going to leave and all that, and now he's back. I don't know how well that's going to go over, but I think that's an important one. But that stretch is important. But I think you could, if you beat Washington and lose to Oregon, I think there's still an opportunity to rebound, and winning on the road at Indiana will be tough, and Ohio State's going to be tough. But all three of those games are going to be tough. I don't know if the Oregon one you have to win, but somehow you need to rally and win one of those other two if you do end up losing to the Ducks. I think the Ducks one would be the most important for USC. I don't know if it's the most winnable. Oregon might be a lot better this year. They bring a lot of people back. It's hard to say between those three schools. They all might be like top 5 type of programs. I'm not sure. Or one or two of them might take some steps back this year. We'll have to see. Rosters change a lot. But I think just for being a West Coast school, it's important on the recruiting trail, even though the head-to-head stuff doesn't matter as much. But it is nice to have a little, as RJ said, like a feather in your cap if you're able to beat the Ducks. I think it's probably the most important one, but it doesn't mean if you lose that one, you can't win one of the other two. But yeah, if you had to pick one to win, I think Oregon would probably be the one you'd want to pick just because there are all those ties there and stuff. But beating like the defending national champion or beating the, Ohio State, who's been all everything for the last, decade or two or whatever, I think all of them would be important. But just as far as like enough stuff to fill out more numbers on the spreadsheet or whatever, I think the Oregon game, you'd get a little bit more bang for your buck out of that one.
I think it's important to separate the feels and the true consequences from each of these games. It's one thing to look at Oregon as going to be one of the 3 toughest games, but that program and that rivalry has become personal.
Yes.
Oregon fans, Oregon media, and Oregon do not miss a chance to point out when they beat USC.
Yes.
They do not miss a chance, whether it's on the recruiting trail or anywhere else. It's not Oregon just beating someone else. And, look, you have to tip your cap to a certain level, right? Because they have come to Southern California and created a presence that has not gone away. And they've outperformed USC on the field, right? And they've beaten USC consistently.
Yeah.
Right? I think the Pac-12 championship game was 2020?
Yeah.
And Oregon won that, and I think you have to go before that for the last time USC beat them.
I think so.
If I'm not mistaken, right? So I think the feel of it is real. That Oregon coming in is not the same as Ohio State coming in or Indiana going to Indiana, the feel of it. Right? I think so. So it is a little bit more personal. I think the big picture counterpoint to that would be, I don't think the September version of this USC team is going to be the best version of it. When you talk about 31 freshmen, right, it'll be 35, 30, 32, 34 plus whatever, Josiah Jefferson, who we freshmanized. But look, when you talk about that, when you talk about the amount of second-year guys who are going to play prominent roles on this team, you talk about a remade wide receiver room. And this isn't bending the knee either. It doesn't mean they can't win the game. But I think what Curtis was asking was like the meaning and the implications behind it. I don't think there's a game on this schedule with Notre Dame gone that would feel better winning than the Oregon game. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily make the Oregon game the most important game out of the 3 or on the schedule. But you can't pretend that it's going to feel the same when they're playing Oregon as when they're playing Indiana.
Yeah.
You're not going to get riled up. You know what I mean? It's just the history is not there. So there's no reason that they can't win that game, cupcakes or no. But I would also say losing that game isn't the referendum on everything when you've got so much more football left and you've got a team that clearly is going to grow into its best self over the course of the year. This isn't a veteran team. This isn't like Indiana last year, right? Where it's just a bunch of 26-year-old dudes who have played forever and they're known quantities. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Indiana was substantively better in December than they were in September.
Yeah,
they were pretty good.
Yeah.
They were just really good all the way around. USC's not set up to be on that kind of arc this year.
Yeah.
So I would say, let's be honest, nothing's going to feel as good for USC fans as beating Oregon, right? But I don't think that necessarily makes it the be-all or end-all of it.
Yeah. I think it's sort of like a race going on between USC and Oregon, and Oregon's had results. They were also, kicking USC's butt on the recruiting trail. The USC's caught up there without sort of like flipping the results yet. But now they've gone head-to-head and got guys. And just like the Big Ten, once everyone started to be able to pay players, like the SEC haven't dominated, and there's stuff that's been gone on, but now USC was able to do similar stuff to what other schools were doing, and they recruited really well. They've won some of those head-to-head battles. So you've caught up there. Catching up on the field would make a big difference, because one thing Oregon's been trying to catch up to is that everyone just says like the 0 national championships. Like, they've been so successful, had a lot of, big wins and playoff runs and things, but they haven't broken through and won a championship. But the way they're running that program, it just seems like that's a matter of time. And if USC can be part of the reason Oregon doesn't win a national championship, not just like a side, like they're on the sidelines watching if you're the the USC loss is what's going to keep them out of a bye or whatever it is, that could be a really big deal. So it's a good one there too, because I think Oregon's eventually going to win a national championship, and that zero thing is going to go away. And if you're USC, you'd like to be someone that contributes to holding them down or keeping them from achieving their goals if you can. You don't want to just be on the sidelines watching. What satisfaction you get out of that? You like saying, hey, you won no titles. Well, if USC didn't really have anything to do with that in the last decade, then it's like, well, does it really matter? So yeah, I think there's a lot of importance in that for the fields, like you said.
Yeah, and again, the other part of it too is, first of all, internally, just for a second, certainly if they win that game, it will the feels are going to be both outside and inside.
Yeah.
I think USC walks around with a lot of confidence. We've seen them this spring. There's been this kind of calming confidence, like this belief in what they have, whether it's Lincoln Riley or the players, but nothing does it like actually making it happen on the field.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want to flip it the other way, if they win that game, I think it's as big a statement internally as it would be putting college football on notice and all that kind of stuff. Right. I think that's a win where you can say to yourself, okay, all this work, all this summer, all this winter, now we see the difference. Now we believe. Kind of a thing. So I don't want to minimize what winning that game would be. It would be fantastic. I just don't know that it would be the end all be all just because of where it falls on the schedule. And then the other thing is you look at Ohio State, and the thing you have to remember with that is that's going to be a team that has built 4 classes like the one USC has as its freshman.
Yeah.
That's a roster of 4 USC 2026 classes. Yeah. USC's coming in with a roster of 1/4 of that is a 2026, right? So, again, I think it's a huge opportunity. I think ultimately those games will tell the tale. And remember, this is a 12-team era. You're not knocked out. It's not instant elimination. Right? Like, I think the whole field had at least one loss, right? Am I wrong about that? Indiana didn't.
Yeah.
But everybody else had at least one. There were 2 teams. There were 2 lost teams.
Alabama had 3, right?
Yeah. 3. So it's not, and that's 2 things. That's number one, don't make the 3 showdowns the end all be all, because it's not going to be enough. And the other thing is don't sleep on the non-ones, right? Like Washington coming in there the week after that Oregon game, where everyone's going to be so up. If I'm Washington, that's the time I'd want to play USC.
Oh yeah,
it's like a trap game.
Yeah, it's 100% that, right? And then you're talking about the next week, what starts a 2-week road trip.
Penn State,
at Wisconsin. Those are not going to be comfortable, easy places to go travel. It's not going to be this thing where we just have to pass these 3 tests. And I think, and conversely, I think there is a little more hope if you look at November 14th, Indiana. You're playing Ohio State on Halloween in the Coliseum, and then you get your bye week. So for Indiana, they're going to get 2 weeks to prep for that game.
Yeah.
Right? They're not getting that for Ohio State, if I'm not mistaken. Ohio State, they'll be coming off a 2-game road swing, and then the Oregon game comes with no byes, right? It's week 0 all the way through, if I'm looking at the schedule correctly.
I know that. Yeah, there's a one after the first 2 weeks or something, I think.
Is there?
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
But not before Oregon, not between the Oregon game. They don't have 2 weeks to get ready.
Yeah.
So again, just things to think about, right? You have to put the context that all these games are going to happen in and factor that in.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do the next?
Yeah, let's do the next one. Yeah, we got to go a little faster. Sorry, we kind of talked a lot about the Ducks.
Yo-ho! What's going on, guys? It's Eddie from Orange, calling into Ryan's podcast, the flagship of the Peristyle Network.
This guy's good.
Everyone, join the P. The P's awesome. Plus, you get all the UFC fights and Dexter included. So that's awesome. This is, what's up, Automatic? What is up, RJ? We're going to come up with a better nickname for you.
Who knows?
Cilantro on the side.
The true cilantro. Priorities.
We go light cilantro. Cilantro Ranch. Huh?
Cilantro Ranch.
Oh my God. Figure that out. One of you guys.
That's actually pretty good.
Question for you guys. You guys saw the pack practice. Saw everything going on Friday. I know there's not a lot you can disclose of what you saw. in the past, the staff has seen the practice and has come away thinking like, a couple years ago they're like, well, the floor is a little lower, the ceiling is not quite as high. Last year it was more like the floor is a little up, ceiling's a little bit up. So without disclosing details and getting your size, banned, like Ryan bans my voicemail sometimes, do you feel that after what you've seen throughout all of spring so far, halfway through spring, do you feel that the floor is closer to 9 wins and the ceiling is closer to 11? Or do you feel things are different than that? And has that changed since, January? All right, Eddie from Orange.
Oh, I thought that was Rick from Vista. That's Eddie from Orange? Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's his rival. I just was teasing
Oh,
him.
wow.
Yeah.
You're trolling him?
I was just trolling a little bit. I don't ban your voicemails. I load your voicemails onto that little iPad every time. Every time you leave one. Now, sometimes there's 3 in a row, and I leave it. It's Chris. If he's not in the mood, he's not playing them. So I don't avoid them. If I'm not here, I can't load them. But if I sit at this desk, it's your voicemail. It automatically gets loaded, and it's up to Chris to play them. Now, Rick from Vista, he plays all of those. He likes Rick's questions a little more than I know.
Okay.
Eddie's great. He supports the P. Thank you very much. Get over to USCfootball.com. What do you think? Floor ceiling changed a little bit, or?
I just think there's too many variables at this point.
Yes.
I will say ceiling is not something we even need to talk about at this point. Like, I don't, I really don't. I don't think we need to even think about a ceiling at this. I think, look, do I think USC can win the national championship this year? Probably not. I think that they're probably not at that place. But can they go to the college football playoff? Yes. Are they good? Do they have enough talent to do that? Yes, unquestionably. Do they have the coaching that they need to do that? You can sit and say wait and see, but I would argue this is the best 3 phases of coaching combination that they've had.
Yeah.
So basically, the safest thing to say is I think this is the best roster in Lincoln Riley's tenure, and I think it is the best coaching from offense, defense, special teams, the 3 guys who were running those shows that he's had.
Yeah, I feel, and the problem with the floor is, like, just RJ was going over the schedule, like, the 3 games, like, obviously those are all losable, right? Because you're talking about 3 major, college football playoff programs that we're doing. We just get a visitor there. Oh,
sorry.
Is it David?
Is that
Woods?
who I thought it was?
Yeah.
David, he's here. You want to come make a cameo? Even though we're at the enemy now, we're doing the podcast with Chips. Oh, I have Girl Scout.
Do you have Samoas?
You want to put on the overhead one?
Yeah.
All right.
We've got cookies.
Yes, yeah. David Woods.
Look at that.
How many did I order from your daughter? Like a lot.
5 boxes.
Wow. Okay.
Samoas are so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is anyone even going to notice these Thin Mints just sliding right
No,
into
they go
my
right ahead.
pocket?
Yeah.
Like,
It's hot outside right now. You put this in the freezer, man.
you always freeze them.
Ooh.
That's
Yeah.
mandatory.
Kinda
That's a no-brainer.
Nice.
Samoas are the best, in my opinion.
Nice.
Sorry.
Wow.
That's
You're
okay.
bringing my worlds together, Ryan.
Yes.
You brought the UCLA guys here.
Look
He
at that.
is. He was supposed to do it remote, but he came in person. So.
Former coworker.
Yeah.
And India showing remarkable restraint by
Thank you so much. I'm getting better.
not like attacking a Bruin on site.
Yeah. If India wants to stick around, she can do the Podcast of Champions show, But she's
Yeah.
got her St. Patrick's Day stuff to
Yeah, I gotta go out in the town.
get to. Even though she didn't know it was St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Or, what were we talking about? We were like, the
Schedule.
The floor. Yeah.
Context,
so
floor, ceiling.
Yeah, floor,
like,
ceiling.
The floor. There's those 3 games are like certainly losable, but on the road at Wisconsin, they're going to be better. On the road to Penn State, like you could lose those games. Obviously, Washington could be a lot better. They could come into the Coliseum. I mean, that's already 6 games. So is the floor 6 and 6? I don't know. I mean, so yes, it's hard to say what that is, but just like I think what RJ said, it's probably too many variables right now, but still a reason for optimism that with the coaching staff and the roster that they can do some good things. But they got to put it together. There's a lot of places you can, if you don't do it well, if you don't make a lot of good decisions along the way with all the resources you have, you can lose some games, and that'll be a tough pill to swallow.
All right, let's move on over to the email.
Yeah. Then we'll get out of here.
Tough to hear. We do have 4 questions in the chat.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do rapid fire
Sure.
round. Tough to hear Connor portaled out. He had an amazing technical understanding of the game. I'll mourn him as if he were dead given his new position. Question for the pod. What's the starting wide receiver lineup you'd like to see come game 1? Conversely, what's the best combo of DBs that we can start? Michael.
Oh, yeah. R.I.P. Connor. He's instantly, though, the best person covering UCLA now, though. Obviously.
Yeah.
That's just because David.
Hey, wait a minute.
He just
You're
scared
also
the heck out
criticizing
of
me
me.
as well.
Oh, sorry.
You're realizing
you're not
that?
doing that anymore.
Yeah, but I was.
Yeah,
like,
but not even. But now, I'm just saying now.
oh, right at this moment.
Yes, at this moment.
When he
he's-
just popped back in, my heart literally just sunk. He just scared the heck
That
out
was
of
a
me.
shot at my buddy David Woods, who
You're
covers
Oh my
UCLA for
God.
On 3. Do you want to take a crack at the? So we've heard a lot of good things about Isaiah Mosley, even though India was saying
Trent
Mosley.
I'm sorry. Oh, Isaiah Mosley.
My
Is that,
bestie.
who's that? Somebody?
Mobley. You're
Mobley.
thinking
That's
of
Isaiah
Isaiah
Mobley.
Mobley.
Shout out Isaiah. He's one of my
Now
friends.
you're into automatic territory.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. I think he came to one of the basketball games the other time. But anyway,
It's a good guy.
yeah. So Trent, we've heard a lot of good things about him. USC put out a social media video, blah blah blah, about showing his one-handed catch. I had talked to, we put some stuff in the war room, and that's one of the names that came up when I talked to a former USC receiver that watched practice. So I think he's probably up there. Terrell Anderson, we've heard a lot of good things about as well. The transfer from North Carolina State, and of course, Tanook Hines. He's a stud too. But I don't know any other.
No,
thoughts in
I
there?
think. Look, we're going rapid fire here. You want my 4, my opening
give me
day,
your 4,
my
yeah.
opening day 4 bet. I'm going Tanook Hines, Trent Mosley, Corey Sims, and I'll go with Zacharias Williams as a
Oh, okay.
outside name. Second year in the program. He didn't really get a chance to do what he wanted to do last year. But I think, again, the biggest thing about the wide receiver room is it's a room.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, looking at it right now, there's no combination of 4 that I wouldn't be excited about or I wouldn't be confident that USC can move the ball with.
Yeah.
I think defensive back, then you start to get into some fun, there's some interesting conversations to be had there for sure.
Yeah. Who do you got there? Like,
So safeties, I mean, I think Alex Graham
he seems to be
is gonna lock up one of those spots. I think if they had their druthers, they would have had him there last year, but they didn't need him there with Bishop Fitzgerald and Kamara Ramsey. I think Christian Pierce probably starts with the lead. You've also got Kennedy Urlacher, who's a guy they very clearly trust. And then we'll see if any of the young guys can push them. But I think that'd be where I'd lean on the safeties. The corner spots is going to be interesting. The other name I'll just throw back really quickly. We've seen Prophet Brown getting rep at safety.
Yeah.
So he's also a guy, it seems like they trust him a lot. So if we take him out of the corner mix for the moment, you've got Marcellus Williams. I think based on everything we've heard, it's going to be hard to keep Rock Hill out of the starting lineup if he stays healthy and stays on the arc that he's been on. So that's 2 guys. And then for your nickel guy, I'm going to go with Chasen Johnson. I think they were ready to start him last year, and then the injuries happened, and it just wasn't an option. But I think they really like him. And again, we're talking about opening day starter situations. This is all going to be very fluid, and I don't think the one thing I don't think that is just talk is the depth. I think that there is a room. Most of these rooms are full of combinations that USC has confidence in. So if there's a drop-off in play, if there is attrition, you could see other names step up.
All right.
Cool. All right.
Thanks,
4
Michael.
questions. Rapid fire round.
Yes.
Let's go.
India really's got some green beers to get to. I know.
Jeff was not here. Question: Who at USC was dumb enough to ask Matt Leinart if he would unretire his number for a recruit?
Okay, so Matt's tweeted about this. I'll text him or something and find out. But he said no one's asked him. Like Lincoln Riley hasn't asked him recently. It's come up in the past. He's of the mind that he doesn't want that to happen. So I don't think it's going to happen. We've seen it happen a couple times. Carson Palmer let Jordan Addison have it. Back in the day, Mike Garrett let Darnell Bing have it. One was a Biletnikoff Award winner. One was like 5-star All-American guy. So I don't know. I mean, if there's like a specific quarterback or something that wins it, maybe he'll be able to get it. But, I think people made a big deal out of this. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Cool. Next one. USC 24 times 7. Will Coach P find his home? Seems like he never leaves the office or film room.
I think Coach P's home is the McKay Center at this point. He made it clear that first weekend he showed up. Certainly the people around there saw more of him than the wife.
Yeah.
I think he said it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday. He was putting in like 16-hour days or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can only hope he chooses a place with a good commute.
We'll have to see if he's going to be a South Bay guy, if he's going to be a PV guy. Basically where his wife wants to live.
Or any of the lovely row houses on West 27.
Right, exactly.
He could,
the village.
Just step in. I think that show Rooster is about Steve Carell. He comes back to college.
Oh,
type
nice.
of a deal.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
Maybe
you could do Culver City, like you used to do Culver City, right? You could take the train right to USC.
You can, and very quickly for any West Side USC fans, that Bundy exposition stop drops you off right at the Rose Garden.
Oh yeah.
It is the easiest if you have to get across town to get to the USC games. 1,000% would recommend. It's super convenient.
Okay.
There you go. Third one. Let's see. 2000. I can't see my eyesight. Any concerns about Thanos? Is this lingering from last year? Seems like he was injured in high school as well.
I will say at this moment, no concern because we have been able to watch him run. He's not hobbled. He's not casted, braced, booted, any of that business. He's moving around out there. He's moving around just fine. I think, again, the slow play is the move in spring. I think if we get to fall camp and we're not seeing him out there, then it might be time to have some questions, but we've got a long way to go before that. So that's not a concern.
There you go. We've got one more. Again, USC 24 times 7. With all our incoming and redshirt players, how are the upperclassmen handling all this?
They've just left. Like, they're not even hanging around. They're just like, we're out of here. We're not going to play. No, they're fine. Everything's been good. I think when you bring in a new defensive coordinator, especially on the defensive side, like everyone's on the same team. If you're a freshman or if you're a senior, they're all like, hey, we're learning all this stuff together. So I think we saw a little bit of that when USC brought in Lincoln Riley, and everybody was sort of like, hey, we're all like, this is new for everyone. So we're all, there was transfers, there was, people that came with him, and they all just felt like it was a way to bond. So I think you get a little bit of that going on. But I wouldn't not too big of a concern. Guys are getting paid. As long as they're getting paid, they don't mind that there's some freshmen are coming in or whatever.
And aside from individual threats to your playing time, everybody wants to be on a good team.
Yeah. People want to win.
Everyone wants to be on a loaded team.
Yeah.
It's fun to be on a loaded team. So to the extent that they are, or they are at least better, I think they're fine with it. And again, this is a chance to be on the best USC team any of the veterans have ever been on.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Last minute one.
Oh crap!
This was to RJ's secondary picks. No sermons? ?
I like RJ Sermons for the obvious reason, and certainly he's a guy I could see. I think we spotlighted him maybe in the Ghost Notes from Friday, or maybe it was Wednesday. He had a rep where he had to kind of pivot, backpedal, and then rise up and catch the ball, and he looked more fluid doing it than any of the other DBs that I saw. So not forgetting about him, not discounting him, and I do think that's one thing too. Every guy that we name, it doesn't mean that if you're unnamed, you haven't had a good first 2 weeks of spring ball, right? Like, it's not this thing where people we're not talking about are disasters in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Cool.
All righty. Well, I think it's going to wrap it up. I got another podcast starting in 6 minutes, so we'll do that.
I want to crash it.
You're here. You can crash it if you want. Well, yeah, that's going to wrap it up. India Otto, we call her Automatic RJ. We're still working on a nickname there. What was the other one?
Who knows? Cilantro Ranch?
Cilantro
Ranch from Eddie and Orange. I like that one. I'm the boss man. Yeah, it's been fun. Hope you guys enjoy your St. Patrick's Day. Thanks to David Woods for bringing me my cookies from his wonderful daughter selling the Girl Scout cookies. So we got a big box here. We'll give it to the staff. Hope you guys all enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time.